If you are planning a visit to Cuba, this video features some of the interesting natural science and historical sites to be found in and around Varadero. The resorts at Varadero are located along a 20-kilometer peninsula on the north shore of Cuba. If you're the type of traveler who enjoys spending some time away from the resort, this peninsula has a number of unique and interesting features. Most of them are easily accessible. If you are flying to Varadero, you will fly right over an important historical site. The approach to Varadero Airport takes you over the Bay of Matanzas. Here, on September the 9th, 1628, this bay was the site of an epic naval battle. Dutch pirate Piet Hein, with a fleet of 31 ships, attacked and captured a Spanish treasure fleet. 21 ships loaded with precious metals. The Dutch returned to Holland with a fortune in gold and silver, one of the largest treasure hauls of the era. After plundering the treasure, the Dutch sank all the Spanish ships, but it is believed they may have missed another fortune that remained hidden under the ship's ballast. The treasure now sits in the ruins of these Spanish ships on the bottom of Matanzas Bay. The bay is deep, salvage would be difficult. A recent development in this story occurred in 1998 when the city of Rotterdam, Holland, presented a statue of Piet Hein to the city of Matanzas. The statue is mounted on a prominent site at the end of the bay. I'm surprised that Cuba welcomed this gift. Piet Hein is hardly a Cuban national hero. If you find yourself walking on the beach at Varadero Village, look west on a clear day and you will see this feature in the landscape. This is the Pan, or Loaf of Matanzas. This low mountain was used for centuries as the landmark that guided sailors to Matanzas Bay. After arriving at our hotel, we rented a taxi and took a tour of Matanzas, finding the Piet Hein statue and visiting Castillo de San Severino, a well-preserved Spanish-era fort with a history dating back to the earliest days of Matanzas. The museum houses an important slave trade museum. We also visited Castillo de Murillo in Matanzas. This fort houses a museum featuring Aboriginal artifacts and a tribute to revolutionary Antonio Holmes, who was killed here in 1935. Another area of interest we discovered was the Varejicacos Ecological Reserve. A 20-minute walk from our resort, this protected area has some interesting geology, a unique variety of plants and animals, and a 2,000-year-old native burial site. Typical of Cuba, the staff at places like this are very knowledgeable, often holding university degrees with specializations in the programs they support at the site. A small fee is charged for entrance to the park, but you are then free to explore on your own. You can walk the trail system in about an hour. The topography in this protected area is interesting. The trail takes you through areas of dense jungle and vine-covered rock faces. There are also some small wetlands, and at the far end of the trail you will find a series of small caves, created when floodwaters dissolve salts and other minerals, leaving this colorful sculpted terrain. Exploring one of the caves, we were surprised to come across what appeared to be an excavated burial site, with a collection of bones and artifacts. It turns out this is an excavated 2,000-year-old burial site, but the original bones and artifacts are now on display in Varadero at a small museum in the middle of town. These are the original contents of the burial site. This museum not only houses the burial site, but it also presents a broad history of the area. Definitely worth a visit, particularly after visiting the excavation site in the jungle. It is believed this burial site was created by the earliest settlers of Cuba, people called Siboneyes. More evidence of these earliest settlers is revealed in the numerous drawings and symbols on the walls of the Ambrose Cave. This cave is on the edge of the nature reserve. Staff at the Ambrose Cave told us the drawings represent a variety of cultures, various people who occupied the caves over thousands of years. The earliest drawings are thought to be from the Siboneyes, some thousands of years old. Mixed in with these are drawings created much later by slaves. Having escaped from the Spanish, they sheltered in these caves and left this record of their presence here. These drawings are readily accessible. If you're interested in anthropology, these images reveal some details about the history of this area. Another amazing feature of the Ambrose Cave is the large colony of bats. 5 species inhabit the area, including the common big brown bat and fruit-eating bats. The light level in the cave makes it easy to observe and photograph the bats, and the staff has special lights available if you're a bit more adventurous and want to explore the remote corners of the cave. Members of the staff here are conducting a number of studies. The bands visible on some of these bats are being used to track the movements of female and male bats. The females move to other caves to create nurseries, like this one located in a small cave in the center of the preserve. Certainly a unique experience to have bats swirling around you in the dimly lit cave. The Ambrose Cave is within walking distance of many of the resorts, and the local bus service has a stop at the cave. The reserve also features plants indigenous to the Varadero Peninsula. Large plants like this ancient cactus tree, centuries old. Some of these trees predate the arrival of the first Spanish explorers. Epiphytes like these are common and can be found growing all along the trails. And this small plant, Zamia, occupies a unique niche in the evolution of plants. Seed-producing and insect-pollinated, Zamia predates modern flowering plants by millions of years. These cones are Zamia male reproductive structures. The staff at the center will help you find this rare and ancient plant. Observing birds and other wildlife requires some patience. The inhabitants of the jungle are furtive and camouflaged. This is a Cuban lizard cuckoo. Apparently they feed on the small lizards you see everywhere. The jungle also supports colonies of ants. These ant highways are constructed by nocturnal leafcutter ants. This large structure is a termite nest. Constructed from mud and plant debris, it houses a colony of termites. Termites eat plant fiber, cellulose. The workers forage the area around the nest for suitable food and nest building material. To avoid predators while outside the nest, termites build shelter tubes, the structures you see here. The workers travel protected inside these tubes. The tubes can extend considerable distances from the home nest. This one traverses a cave wall. As I mentioned, the Varadero Reserve is close to most of the resorts along the Varadero Peninsula. There is a local tourist bus service. You just pay once to travel all day. The bus stops at both the Varadero Preserve and the Ambrose Cave. If you visit these areas, wear hiking shoes and long pants. The trail is rugged in spots. If you're interested in steam technology, we found a bus tour to a place called Australia. This community has an operating steam train. These trains were used to haul carloads of sugarcane to the refineries. The train at Australia runs daily tours a short distance into a sugarcane field where the staff demonstrates small-scale extraction of cane juice. For a small tip, you can ride in the cab on the way back. Since the collapse of the sugar industry, most of the refineries are closed. Still, interesting to see these large industrial sites. The locomotive maintenance area at Australia appears frozen in time, as if everything stopped and everyone walked away, leaving engines in the middle of maintenance. This locomotive was having its tubes cleaned. It also turns out that Australia was Castro's headquarters during the Bay of Pigs invasion. A small museum here contains artifacts, papers, and maps from the Bay of Pigs invasion. And of course, if you're interested in vintage cars, they are everywhere. Incredibly, they have managed to keep this fleet of 1950s, largely American cars, operating, often making some creative adaptations. Look closely and you may find a Toyota engine in a 56 Ford, and body parts from various years assembled into a hybrid. Certainly interesting to see this unique collection of 60-year-old vehicles on the road. The other resort areas in Cuba present similar opportunities to explore and learn more about the community outside of the resort. If you have discovered some unique areas in your travels, consider sharing your experience here on YouTube or sites like TripAdvisor. For more science and technology videos, visit our website, hiloroad.com.